I love reading about pretentious people. Hey Reader Pops! Oh my gosh, I missed you guys. I have not posted a video on here in so long. New setup, I just moved. I might post a moving vlog on this channel to update you guys. I don't have any bookshelves right now, so right now we're doing the book wall. I love it, other than the fact that I'm gonna have to try to take the books out to show you guys. My favorite books of 2021. I'll do a different video of every single book I read this year, but these are my favorites of the year. The very first book that I rated 5 stars this year, Beach Read by Emily Henry. This is the first book that I read this year in June, and this is what got me into reading. This is what got me from buying one book to this entire wall that we have now. So I read this book on the beach. It was perfect. This book, everything about it, the cover, it's just my comfort book, okay? And when I first read it, I gave it 4 stars because it was the first romance book I'd ever read. Is that true? As an adult, I guess. But as I continued the year and continued to read a bunch of romance books, I kind of got an understanding of what was good, what was bad, what's kind of like the middle ground. And this is not middle ground. This is definitely 5-star material. And out of all the books I've read, this is the one that I want to reread the most. She is just so good at writing banter, and I think that's something that I like the most because it feels like they actually have chemistry. So that's pretty important for a romance book. Comment down below though if you are a beach read or a people we meet on vacation person, because a lot of people prefer this book a lot more, but I am not one of those people. I definitely prefer beach read a ton more. But I'm not even looking at my Goodreads, which I made public by the way. I'm just looking at this and I know which ones I gave 5 stars. Daisy Jones and the Six by Taylor Jenkins Reid. This is written in entirely dialogue, so it's super unique, and it's about this really cool band and this really cool girl, and it's got romance in it, it's got drama, and I loved it. I wasn't expecting to, and it's one of those books that I kind of want to reread because I loved it to the point where I gave it 5 stars, but I also didn't feel that connected because the dialogue switches so much. That's my one critique of Taylor Jenkins Reid books, is that she changes perspective so quickly that the second I feel like I'm starting to attach to a character, I get detached because we go to a different character's point of view. That's the only thing I'll say, but I did give it 5 stars and I really love it. It was the most quotable fiction book I've ever read, and I usually don't care to highlight when reading fiction whatsoever, but this one had me highlighting. The Silent Patient by Alex Michaelides, I don't know. This is a thriller. I read it in one night, I believe, because I just couldn't put it down. And I gave it 5 stars because I couldn't guess the plot twist, and I was guessing so many things I thought I must have stumbled upon the answer, but I didn't, so that's pretty epic. The only thing I'll say though is that I don't really read a lot of books written by men, and it's because they have a different voice. I don't like it as much, but I really liked this thriller and I really liked the ending. It had my jaw on the floor. I was really excited. I read it all in one go. So for all of those reasons, I give it 5 stars, and if you want to read a thriller, I would recommend this one. I love this book. If We Were Villains by M. L. Rio. This book gets compared to The Secret History by Donna Tartt all the time, which I also read and loved, but I gave that one 4 stars. This one, however, I think is way more easy to read. This book actually has pretty mixed reviews because they do a lot of Shakespeare references and you read a lot of Shakespeare in here. But the thing is, I have never read Shakespeare other than one of the plays that we had to do at school, and I still understood this book, you know, context clues. I understood it enough to where it was still impactful where it needed to be, and I just love the friend group. This is a dark academia. There's 6 friends, someone dies, you don't know if they had a part in it or if they're solving it, you just don't know how it's gonna go, so there's like tension throughout the whole book. There's drama within the friend group, there's romance within the friend group. I love reading about pretentious people. Oh, I don't know why I love it so much. It's like a thing. I love reading pretentious, smart characters. That's this book. Love this book. You're gonna start to see that I discover books that are 5 stars outside of just adult romance with scenes that I have to skip, so that's fun, and I'm still trying to discover more of those books. If you have any recommendations, comment them down below. Yes! Yes! Uh-oh. Okay, I just read this series what did I just say? I just read this series super recently in my Reading for 50 Hours Straight video, which is on my main channel. Go check that out if you like book videos. So I read this whole series in one go. This is A Good Girl's Guide to Murder by Holly Jackson. This is a YA murder mystery, so young adult. So it's super clean. Second book, Good Girl, Bad Blood, which I liked even more than the first, I think, which is so rare for a second book in a trilogy. And then As Good as Dead. The thing with trilogies is most of the time people love the first book, and then there's like second book syndrome where it's just kind of in the middle. It's not gonna be anyone's favorite, and then the last one can be amazing, wrap it up really well, or it doesn't wrap it up really well. But this series, I loved the first book, I loved the second book even more, and then I loved the way that it got wrapped up in the third book. So wow, I just love it. It's about a girl in high school who is solving a murder that happened years ago in her tiny little town, and she starts to dig a little deeper and find out some secrets in the town that have been swept away. Did who we think murdered someone someone really do it? That type of thing. So fun, such a page turner. But here's the thing about this book that I didn't know. There's romance. It's a subplot, but we get more of it throughout the series, and I just love it so much. I've never loved a romance so much as a subplot in books, and I want them to have their entire own book just about their relationship because I love them that much. I just love these books so much. And they're YA, so I can like recommend them to anyone and not be like, oh, skip that page, skip that chapter. Definitely read this for a fun page turning time. Another series. I give you another. So I didn't do a November wrap up of what I read, which I guess will end up, you'll find out what I read in my yearly wrap up. I read this series, The Inheritance Games by Jennifer Lynn Barnes, and The Hawthorne Legacy, which is the second book, and there's actually a third book coming out in 2022, which I'm so excited about. This is also YA, and it's a mystery YA, so it got compared to Knives Out, the movie, which was one of my favorite movies. It was my favorite until the new Spider-Man came out. I don't know, I'm kind of like, I'm really hyped right now. If you can't tell, I'm not even making eye contact with the camera. You've got the mystery, you've got the Knives Out vibes, and you've got the romance subplot, which is a much bigger plot in the second book. So I absolutely loved it. If you like Knives Out, you need to read this. Going back to romance, The Love Hypothesis by Ali Hazelwood. This is top 3 romance for me. This year, top 3 romance, beach read, Love Hypothesis, and Love in Other Words by Christina Lauren. We'll get to, wait, we're not talking about this one yet. I love the setting that they were in. She's a grad student in science. Something happened to me in this book that rarely happens, and what it was is that by page 8, I had butterflies, and I knew that it was gonna be 5 stars, which is crazy. That rarely happens for a book. Like, this is like cotton candy for the brain, you know what I mean? Like, this is just pure cotton candy. It's easy, it's fun, gives you butterflies, and I just couldn't put it down, and I wanna read it again. And it's just happy. Ugh, it's just cotton candy. Okay, we have to talk about it, we have to talk about it. Love in Other Words by Christina Lauren. Possibly my favorite book. Possibly my favorite book this year. Top 2. Actually, I know my top 2. I'll tell you at the end. This is one of them. So this is childhood friends to lovers, and they both love reading books. So they're nerds. Like I said, I love reading about smart people, especially smart people in love. Oh my gosh. Give it to me. Give it to me. Give it, just let me have that. It's also a little bit of a second chance romance. I cried at the end. Yep, I cried. So there's that aspect of it. This is like soulmates type of romance, which is what I told you that I liked. They feel like soulmates in this, and it just feels like so correct. Like, yes, they are meant to be together. This also is an alternating timeline. So you have them when they were childhood friends, and then them as adults. And so it makes you want to read the entire book in one night, because you read a chapter and it's about their childhood, and then you come back to the present, but then you want to know what happens in the past, and you want to come back to the future. Top 2 books this year. Absolutely love it. There is, I think, like a scene or 2 that you'd have to skip if you want to skip those scenes. So good. There it is. Oh, so I think this might be my favorite book this year. Top 2 at least. Which is so funny because it's so controversial, and I think I have a theory. Let me just talk about the book first. The Atlas 6 by Olivia Blake. This is actually a fantasy book, but it's like light fantasy because I'm not really a fantasy reader. It's dark academia. It's 6 characters. I love books with 6 characters. They're so good. I love a good friend group. Oh, it's also magical realism, and it's nerdy. Like, they're pretentious. Okay, so here's my theory, right? This book blew up on TikTok really fast, so it has a lot of hype. I might be one of those people who hyped it up, okay? And here's the thing. I think books get hype because when you discover a book, you're like, holy crap, this is so good, I need to tell everyone. But when you're on the receiving end of the hype and then you're reading it after it's hyped up and you're like, okay, let me see if it lives up to these expectations, that's when it doesn't work, because you're already reading it with these expectations, whereas the person who read it before there was hype didn't have any expectations and they stumbled upon something amazing. And so I watched a lot of videos on YouTube that was like, reading the Atlas 6, super hyped up on TikTok, and they just didn't like it. You know, that's fine. I believe you. I respect your opinion, but it is one of my favorite books this entire year. Another complaint I saw is that people got confused. I don't have memories of being confused other than this one like time travel-y thing that happens in here, but you kind of just have to go with it. Like, it's magic. You just have to like go with it. You know what I mean? This is just me defending this book because I love this book so much. And I love Olivia Blake. Get this, right? Where is it? At the moment, I'm actually currently reading her other book, Alone with You in the Ether. It's a romance book by her, and this one is super underrated. I'm only like 100 pages in right now, and it's giving me that 5-star feeling. I feel like this could be one of my favorite books this year, but it might just have to go into a video next year because I'm reading it right now as we speak. I'm right there. And this book has confirmed for me that I love Olivia Blake's writing so much. She might be one of my favorite fiction authors, and her writing style, people call it pretentious pretentious, and that's probably why I love it. Like I said, I love reading about smart characters. I love reading about pretentious people. I love to read a little bit pretentious writing where you feel kind of smart because you kind of have to like work a little harder to understand it. I'm sorry, I don't know why I like that, but I love it, okay? And this book, the characters, there's a tiny sub-romance plot. Just give it a chance, but don't have huge expectations. Don't have like huge TikTok hype expectations. Just go into it like you would any other book, excited, but not judgmental, and let me know how it goes, okay? I love that book. Okay, and last but not least, the Addicted/Calloway Sisters series. This is the first book. So these 4 books right here are the Addicted series, and then these 5 books right here with the weird looking covers. This is the Calloway Sisters series. You end up reading it intertwined. You can look up the reading order. It's weird. This is basically about a rich family, and when I mean rich, I mean like billionaires, and they're all like a friend group, and you've got a childhood to lovers romance plot, you've got an enemies to lovers romance plot, and you've got a age gap trope. Not creepy though. And then you've also got that found family dynamic, huge friend group, they're rich, they have problems, they have drama. It's kind of like reading about the Kardashians if you felt like you were like best friends with them in a way. This is like cotton candy for the brain. Now, here's the thing with the whole skipping scenes thing. In this first book, she's quite literally addicted to those scenes that you have to skip. But in this first book, they don't really describe it. Like they're describing her struggling, but they're not graphically describing those scenes. I don't know, guys. By the time I had read the entire series, there just becomes like, you can tell every few chapters are like, oh, it's been a few chapters, we need to write one of these scenes. And it's just like, okay, skip a page every few chapters type of thing. Man, oh man, I read 9 books this year just about this family, about these characters. So clearly I loved it. And you feel like they're actually real people. And it's shocking to me that I can't like look at them on Instagram because that's how real they feel to me. So I really love it. These are my favorite books of 2021. I also have favorite Christian books that are nonfiction if you want to go look at those on my Goodreads. I will try to leave the link in the description, but I'm very confused. If you like books, subscribe, follow me on Instagram, say hi on the main channel, and I'll see you guys somewhere else on the internet. Bye!